Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So if you are watching this video on the day of the upload date, which is the 21st August, you may wish me and the car a very happy birthday because it's our birthday today. But this is not about me. This is about this BMW out here because it completes 10 years of ownership since the day I got it back in 2012. So in this video, we are going to discuss 5 things which I like and 5 things which I dislike about the car, because it, like any relationship, it's like a love and hate relationship, but for this it's been more love. But just to balance things out, we're going to talk about the things which I don't love as well, starting off with the things I dislike and the things you should be aware of if you are actually looking out to purchase a pre-owned BMW F30. Alright, so this next segment is going to help a lot of viewers who are in the market for a pre-owned F30 generation of the 3 Series. And so I would like to draw their attention to all these dislikes so that they can know what's in store for them when it comes to the ownership of the F30. Starting off with point number 1. The wheel speed sensor issues. So anyone who's owned an F30 would be aware that suddenly the lights on the dashboard as well as the iDrive light up, showing an ABS error, showing there is the destabilization of the chassis, and a few more lights showing that there's something wrong with the braking system as well as the traction control system. But it's just a wire which has gone bad. So this wheel speed sensor wire is probably about 1.5 feet or max 2 feet in length, and it's at every corner of the car, every wheel. So I would say that this usually goes post monsoon very often, when a lot of if you drive your car through a lot of dusty environment or a mucky environment, or definitely it can go bust after you drive continuously through heavy rainfalls. So this is a concern in all the F30 generations, all the F30 cars, irrespective of being a 320D or a 328i. So these wheel speed sensors, I would have changed at least a bunch of them, maybe 13, 14 sensors by now in the 10 year of ownership. So that makes it almost, every year I change at least 1 or 2 sensors time and again. Though it's not a very expensive fix. At the BMW service centers, they charge around 12,000 rupees for a wire. It does sound expensive, but as soon as you look at solutions in the aftermarket, you can get this job for well under half the price what BMW quotes. So for people who are looking out for an F30, be ready to spare that kind of money every once or twice a year on wheel speed sensor replacements. Sticky door handles. That is not a large issue when it comes to mechanical failure, but definite ergonomic miscalculation by the team who designed the interior. Again, this has been a common issue with all the F chassis cars. F10s also suffered with the sticky door handles, but eventually I think BMW did offer some warranty related discounts when you are wanting to get some new handles installed. Otherwise there is an aftermarket solution which you can get it, you can say having another so-called fabric which is fake leather over and above it, so that the rubber never melts, and even if it does, it doesn't stick onto your hands. So sticky door handles is a definite you can say problem you can expect in the long-term ownership of an F chassis BMW, and in this case the F30. Though the ride quality is surely a strong point for the F30, but the handling takes a beating for that, and literally the rear suspension is to be blamed because it is way too bouncy for a 3 Series, and though it has its own advantages when it comes to the ride comfort, but surely it doesn't feel as good as it should. So people who are considering a pre-owned F30 should definitely consider upgrading the suspension to get the overall benefits of owning a 3 Series. This may not be applicable for people who have an LCI. The facelift version of this F30 had a changed or maybe an upgraded or retuned rear suspension. So that had really made things better, but still a suspension upgrade would be recommended. I am right now running on a stock setup because my odometer is just at 38,000 kilometers. So, but when the time comes, I will surely look at something which tighten things up for my F30. Drivetrain errors. So this is something which BMW has categorized all sorts of errors under one topic: drivetrain errors. It is extremely scary to see drivetrain error pop up on your iDrive or your instrument cluster, and it really does come pretty often for modified F30s and also for stock F30s. So I would say I would categorize this as a dislike because all sorts of errors have been under the umbrella of drivetrain errors, be it a small rat bite error, rat bite related issues, or some voltage related issues, or boost related issues, or anything and everything, right? Everything is under a drivetrain error. I would have liked the car to be more specific so that it doesn't make me panic, because drivetrain is a big thing, and usually the error or the issues are not too large. I remember one time I was driving on, that was very early during the ownership, I was driving to Mahabaleshwar, and it was pretty heavy on rains that day. On the expressway, I was continuously driving on a thin layer of water, and so it was like the underbody was getting a continuous wash. So suddenly drivetrain error popped up. So I stopped by a fuel station and stopped the car, 10 minutes, took a break. Suddenly when I started the car back, it was all okay. So that was something related to the car not liking all the water being gushed underbody. So that is fair, where the drivetrain is taking a beating and that drivetrain error pops up. But for small things also drivetrain error comes in. That is not good thing, and that is the reason I genuinely think the new or the pre-owned guys or the people who are considering the F30 need to be aware about this error and not panic. Keep a scanner handy and try to read your own codes before you visit the service center, so that you know what to expect and what kind of bills or maybe something which can be done in the aftermarket. It should be done there as well. So small tip. So my F30 had come with Goodyear touring spec run flats. I feel those were not the best run flats, and because comparing the run flat technology of today's day and age versus the last decade, those were terrible. And not only they were hard compound, but they were also brittle and very difficult to drive on bad roads. And particularly those Goodyears used to gave me a lot of trouble. I suffered sidewall air bubbles as well as cracks on 3 occasions. Eventually I had to get rid of the run flats, and I got a new set of Michelin Pilot Super Sports imported. That was a staggered setup, a tubeless one. That was the first setup which I imported from Tire Rack. And right now, so that setup I run around for about 25,000 kilometers, and now I'm on the Yokohama's, the V105S. So the tubeless technology paired with the suspension of the F30, which is comfort oriented, make it for a very comfortable car. And I feel that run flats were a big letdown for the F30. So that is a definite dislike. And if your car, if the pre-owned car which you have purchased is still running on a run flat setup, do consider immediately switching on to a nice set of Michelin rubber or Continental or maybe Yokohama as well. So the F30 was born during the era when the turbo petrols were taking over, and the N20 up front in this 328i, I believe, was the sole engine responsible for retiring the non-turbo straight 6 engines from the BMW stable. And I say this very confidently because the numbers that time and still are very handsome for this 2-liter turbo petrol, and the kind of performance it achieved with 2 cylinders short and an addition of a turbocharger with being very economical. It was a great engine, and it still is a great engine. Yes, I'm aware that the N20 is now upgraded with the B series engines. When we are talking about the F30 generation and the N20 in combination of the 328i badge, that was really a stellar combination, particularly with this gearbox, which was the ZF 8-speed unit. And if you compare the previous generations, E90, the early models were all having 6-speed automatics, and they definitely did not have the edge what this 8-speed ZF has today. In combination with this turbo petrol engine, this gearbox really helps explore all the power and torque for that engine to make it a complete package, and a strong like and a strong you can say point in favor of the F30 chassis is this engine and gearbox combination. So the next point, surely most would agree, is the ride quality. The suspension tune for the F30 chassis was extremely soft and tuned towards the ride comfort and the ride quality, and surely this may be the most comfortable 3 Series of all time. Having experienced the E90 and having owned the E46, I would surely say the F30 genuinely freed up the missing cabin space and made the 3 Series a complete family sports sedan. And the space and the overall cabin packaging was surely, and it's surely today is, a very strong point and a definite like for me for the F30 chassis in the BMW lineup. So the F30 was definitely well priced for its time, but at the same time it was really feature rich, and it had all the relevant features and more to make it a very you can say a desirable product in its segment. I would say that things like the 9-speaker audio system sounds as good, if not better, than the 16-speaker system, which is an Harman Kardon system, which I have in my M340i. Things like head-up display was available only for the 328i in India for the F30. Then there were memory seats on offer. So overall, I think it's surely a fantastic feature-rich package. Also, the iDrive is a large screen, and I know that there was a Sportline variant of the 320 diesel which was available with a smaller iDrive back in the day, but at least in my car I had a larger iDrive, and it feels still very intuitive and you can say slightly laggy, but I would not really have any complaints still spending some time in this cabin. And overall I feel it's still very relevantly modern, this entire feature-rich package of the F30, which was offered almost a decade back. And finally, to conclude things off, the last point I would like to mention, which I really love about the F30, are the looks. I really feel that this is a great looking 3 Series, and I believe this was the first car in the entire BMW lineup to start off the headlight grille integration. This started off a new design ideology in the BMWs, and surely it is not as polarizing as what we do see with the M3s and the M4s, the G80, G82s, but at the same time it was a new design language with the integration. So I would say that I really loved, and we still had that those Corona rings sorts, though a bit squarish. The side profile is again a very typical BMW. In my F30 328i, I would like to thank BMW India because they spec'd this car with the Style 397 rims. Extremely good looking probably this rim setup, this rim design might just go into being one of the most iconic rim designs. That is what I feel. At the same time, we need to remember that when the F30 was launched back in 2011-12, that time there was no M Sport variant. So without an M Sport kit, it still looked very good. M Sport was eventually introduced with the LCI. So overall, yes, looks are a definite strong point you should consider getting the F30 for. So I would like to conclude things off by saying that it has been 10 years, 38,000 odd kilometers of ownership, and it has been a charm. I feel that a long way is still long way to go for my car and my relationship with the F30. For the new owners who are looking to buy the F30, I feel that it's a very stable and a reliable chassis, and not too many electric issues if you take care and have a good parking garage. So I think you should definitely consider the F30 as your car, as your first BMW also. I will try to make some more content on my F30 as the years go by, but until then, thank you all for watching and see you next time.